So they have all of those resources to try to crush journalists who try to go after them. And that's what they've tried to do with me. They didn't realize how stubborn I am.
Yesterday morning, the news broke that Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel was calling it quits at the Republican National Committee. This, of course, just a year after she fought tooth and nail to retain that job for a 2-year term, but she's cutting it short. Here's how Fox and Friends reported the big story.
Fox News Alert reports coming in this morning that apparently RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel will be stepping down from her position.
All right, McDaniel's shocking decision doesn't come as a complete surprise, but GOP presidential hopefuls turn their focus to Michigan, that's her hometown, ahead of tomorrow's primaries.
Madeline Rivera is in D.C. and joins us now with all the details. Good morning to you, Madeline.
Good morning, guys. Ronna McDaniel calling it an honor and privilege to serve as RNC chairwoman for 7 years. She says the RNC has historically undergone change once we have a nominee, and it has always been my intention to honor that tradition. I remain committed to winning back the White House and electing Republicans up and down the ballot in November. McDaniel's decision to step down March 8th, as reported by the New York Times, was expected. Trump had said he would be urging changes at the RNC after the South Carolina presidential primary. Former President Trump is endorsing the chairman of the North Carolina GOP, Michael Whatley, to take over the role, and he's backing his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, for RNC co-chair.
Obviously, I've been talking about Ronna McDaniel, but it looks like the straw that broke the camel's back was the reporting done by Jennifer Van Laar. Apparently, there was $3.1 million in private jet services since 2017, $1.3 million in limousine and chauffeur services, $17.1 million in donor mementos, and all of this is fine typically if you're winning. Because the RNC has not been winning, then they really started to look at these financial documents, and from what I'm hearing, the former president was not too happy when the report came out. He was loyal to her, but he said it's time for her to go.
Well, the former president and a lot of his allies were trying to squeeze her out. She has faced an intense pressure campaign, and we have talked in the past about how Trump had repeatedly pressured Ronna to cancel the primary debates because he wasn't going to be in them, and reportedly the primaries themselves. And she resisted. She said, look, I don't have the authority to cancel the actual primaries.
That last part, I'm not quite sure has any bearing here. Trump wasn't losing faith in Ronna McDaniel because she wasn't canceling primaries. Come on, guys. It was what Lawrence Jones said. It was the reporting of Jennifer Van Laar at RedState.com. You know that because you watch this program, and you know we talked to Jen right here about 2 weeks ago when the story broke about the spending at the RNC, and she joins us now. I guess we're going to have to change your business card, Jen. Instead of managing editor at RedState, it's Jen Van Laar, the straw that broke the camel's back. Well done.
I feel like that's happened a few times in my life.
Fair enough.
Professionally and personally.
But this reporting obviously found its way right onto the smartphone or device of the former president, Donald Trump, and he didn't like what he saw. This whole idea that Ronna McDaniel always planned on stepping down at this time. Does your reporting bear that out? Because I don't remember her saying that ever.
No, my reporting does not bear that out. When Ronna was reelected in January of 2023, part of the reason that she was saying to the delegates that she needed to be reelected was because, hey, we have this election coming up in 2024, and we don't need to change horses midstream. We need to have this consistency for fundraising, all of that kind of thing. And even when we started looking into the latest expenditures that I talked with you about a few weeks ago, she and her people were saying, we're just focused on winning back the presidency, on taking back the Senate. And there was nothing like, oh, as soon as we get a nominee, that nominee is going to choose their chair. The nominee normally chooses the chair if they win. And then the next January, they install their chair.
I am shocked to learn that a politician in D.C. is lying to try to save face here on this one. Obviously, she wasn't planning on stepping down. And listen, this isn't like a victory lap to say, ha, we got someone fired, because we want, frankly, a strong Republican Party. We approach our journalism every day with a perspective and a point of view. The problem is your reporting revealed some very serious systemic problems here at the top of the RNC.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to take down the Republican Party in any way. I'm trying to make it stronger. And that's why my investigative reporting not only reflects on the corruption among Democrats. But when I see things that are going wrong on the Republican side, things that are going to cost us elections now and in the future, then I want to shine a light on that and try to get it changed. A strong RNC is what we need, because the national parties can do things that PACs can't do, that state parties can't do, the way that they can coordinate and that they can have data that they can share with the state parties and with local parties. We need all of that strong, and we need it brought up to current technological standards. And we need people who are good at what they do and not cronies. And so that's what I'm trying to accomplish with my reporting.
And like I said, it's very frustrating considering a year ago we were having this knockdown, drag-out fight for her reelection. It was unprecedented to run for a fourth term. No one has ever done that before. She insisted on running for a fourth term. She was challenged by Harmeet Dillon, a very viable challenge, especially considering basically everyone who was voting, the state chairs, had been basically handpicked and put in place by Ronna Romney McDaniel. It's sort of like the College of Cardinals, doing a vote for the Pope, while the Pope was the one who put him in place. So it's a little frustrating considering she only lasted a year when she fought so hard to keep the job a year ago.
Right. And that whole year, she was having difficulty raising funds, and then obviously had some pretty bad off-year election results. And then you had that conversation with her after the Miami debate where she kind of said, like, well, we didn't have anything to do with the losses in Virginia. We're not responsible for that. They didn't ask us for money, and that they had told her that they didn't need it when that wasn't really the case. So I think that all of that, in addition to my reporting, just was a terrible year for her, and she really did need to go.
You're right. Yeah, and the other real red flag that came from that conversation, the night of the debate in Miami, that was co-sponsored by Salem Media, was that it seemed like she was blaming Glenn Youngkin. That this is a pattern of behavior here. It's like, we had nothing to do with it. That's not our job. It's those guys' fault, which is the last thing you want as the head of an organization. And frankly, I think all of this must have added up for someone like Donald Trump, who was used to hiring and firing people to run major organizations. You add to that your reporting about how money is being spent right now, and the change had to come.
Absolutely. And in that conversation with you, she kind of put out some misinformation, because she's blaming Glenn Youngkin saying that they didn't need her. Well, Youngkin is not the chair of the Virginia Republican Party. He's the governor, but there's a different chair. And she knows that very well, because the chair of the Virginia Republican Party would be one of those 168 RNC members who elects her. So she understands very well all of that. And she's putting confusion in the minds of people who don't pay attention to politics by that comment.
Yeah. And I interviewed Rich Anderson, the chair of the Republican Party of Virginia, and he said, I don't know anything about this. In fact, I was asking for money and help from the RNC years ago. So kind of a 1-2 punch here, actually, Jen, although honestly, you did all the hard work there at RedState here at the final analysis. And I want to talk about the journalism aspect of this, because it's not like, and listen, you have great sources and you do get tips from all over the place. People would be surprised. I'm sure I would be surprised if you ever told me some of the sources you've got. But this is actually public information. You did the hard work of going through these forms and figuring out what was there and what wasn't there and where the money was spent. Other journalists could have done this. Other right-of-center conservative journalists could have done this, but they didn't. They didn't go there. You did.
Right. I mean, it took lots of hours to do it. It was all public as far as the transactions themselves. It was helpful to speak with sources that I had who were donors or members of the 168 or contractors with the RNC to, run things past and get some context for things, which is a word they all like. But yes, it was me spending the hours putting it together, painstakingly getting the receipts, watermarking them so people don't steal them. But, I want to give a shout out to our VIP members, because it's their generosity with supporting good journalism. I guess I shouldn't even say generosity, their investment in us, in good journalism, that makes this possible for us to do it, because it was just on ad revenue. There's no way that I would have the time to be able to go put all that together. So I really want to thank our VIP members, and hope that any people watching who are not VIP members already will realize how much we need their investment in what we do.
Well, you're right. And in fact, to that end, I'm going to jump in here and promote my VIP code, even though you did all the work.
No, I don't care as long as we get people.
Go to the townhall.com VIP portal and just enter the code Larry, and you'll actually get 50% off right now if you use the code word Larry. And I want to echo what you're saying here, because listen, it's great to hear Lawrence Jones there on Fox and Friends, millions and millions of viewers watching this story as it breaks. And he says the straw that broke the camel back was the reporting. You're reporting at RedState.com, and you hear it from people all the time, consumers of news and media and information. Where are the investigative journalists? Where are they out there? The last time investigative journalists got rewarded in Washington, D.C., it was for regurgitating the Russian collusion lie. They actually won awards, and that story was false. And here you are. You want to know where the investigative journalists are? They're here. You're looking at her, Jennifer Van Laar, but she can only do it with the support of VIP members. This kind of journalism, frankly, only works when the consumers of the information are subscribing and supporting what we do.
Absolutely. And we're under attack like never before. You know this. You talk about it, I'm sure, all the time. And it's just vital that we show with our wallets what we value.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll say it because you don't want to. Well, no, you wouldn't mind ticking off some of our friends as well. There's a lot of conservative websites out there with a lot of conservative reporters that write a lot of posts from the right of center perspective. They didn't go after this story. For whatever reason, you can ask them, you can talk to them. But I'll tell you, when you're in this world, when you're in the right of center media world and you start ticking off the chair of the RNC, that's not the most popular thing to do. But Jen, you did it because it was an important story to tell.
Right. And that could be maybe some started looking at things and they faced the same gaslighting that I did from Ronda's spokespeople or people going around and spreading rumors about them that they're bought and paid for by I don't know who, because it's not going to be the left or the right in this case. So
I
that's
assure you,
what they were facing.
The deeper pockets in this story are the ones that we just sort of went after.
Right. And so they have all of those resources to try to crush journalists who try to go after them. And that's what they've tried to do with me. They didn't realize how stubborn I am.
Well, and the other thing that may have happened at those other places is that an executive may have sort of picked up the phone and said, listen, I know you're working on this story, but we're not in a place where we can tick these people off right now. So let's look at another story. That happens, guys. It does.
Oh, yes, it happens. And I'm grateful here. I mean, there's stories I've been working on in LA. I've heard from journalists there that they want to run with things and their bosses won't let them. So, it's a whole structure here at Town Hall Media we have where we follow good journalism where it leads. All
right, enough of the victory lap. I don't want you to hurt yourself, patting yourself on the back. Go after the LA County supervisors, that Barbara Ferrer woman, that ghoul who's in charge of public health. Let's take care of her next.
She's on the list, right up there.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great job. Great work, as always, at RedState.com. So proud to be a part of the family here. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.